do you think is happier? Asks Mark Recklow in his book Destination Happiness. People who have won the lottery or people who have become paralyzed after an accident? You may be surprised at the answer. Yes, the lottery winners were very happy, but not for very long. Recklow continues, after 6 months, they went back to their previous levels of happiness. On the other hand, the accident victims were sad, but surprisingly, after 6 months, they also went back to their previous levels of happiness. Think about that for a moment. 6 months later, both groups, those who had won the lottery and those who had an accident and were paralyzed, had returned to their previous state of happiness. I don't know what that says to you, but it says to me that happiness is an inside job. Our circumstances don't determine how satisfied we are with our lives. Something else on the inside makes a difference. The same studies on happiness were conducted with a group of college professors. Now, they were asked how happy they would be if they got tenure. Just to explain, for a college professor, tenure means that they are given a permanent post from which they can be removed only under extraordinary circumstances. These professors answered that if they got tenure, they would be very happy for the rest of their lives. Another group of professors was asked how unhappy they would be if they did not get tenure. They answered very unhappy for a very long time. And again, when researchers went back to them 6 months later, every one of these professors had gone back to their previous levels of well-being, whether they received tenure or not. If they were happy before, they were happy 6 months later. If they were unhappy before, they were unhappy 6 months later. Interesting. You and I count as part of our heritage the blessings of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But what is happiness? Is happiness something that can be obtained by pursuing it? Is it a product of circumstance or surroundings? Is it to be equated with money in the bank, a diploma on the wall, the respect of one's friends and neighbors? Or does it depend on something else, something entirely different? Think for a moment. What would it take to make you happy? Really happy? Jesus talked about happiness, but not in the same way you or I would talk about it. In fact, he turned our understanding of happiness upside down. In the Sermon on the Mount, for example, he made some unique and unusual statements about happiness, which we know as the Beatitudes. Luke, in his Gospel, gives us a condensed version of some of those stirring statements. Happy are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Happy are you who hunger now, for you will be satisfied. Happy are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Happy are you when people hate you, when they exclude you and insult you and reject your name as evil because of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven, for that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. Happy are the poor. Happy are the hungry. Happy are those who weep. Most of us are more comfortable with the word blessed than the word happy in these circumstances. But the Greek word makarios, which most translators of the Bible translate as blessed, can also be translated as happy. That may disturb some of us. We could see how Mother Teresa, working with dying people in the wretched slums of Calcutta, would be blessed. But happy? And yet people who knew her most intimately claimed that she radiated happiness. In fact, many authors who have studied the pursuit of happiness have observed that the happiest people on earth are not those who pursue happiness, but those who seek God and serve others. Some of you may remember Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and his Power of Positive Thinking. Late in his life, Dr. Peale wrote some words that I believe deserve a wide audience. Now listen to his words quite closely. He writes, I have discovered that the most optimistic people are the most Christian people in their attitudes. Now I've got to qualify that a bit. I've seen lay people, preachers, bishops, archbishops, and so on, up and down the hierarchy who weren't optimistic, who thought everything was going bad. You see, there are different ways of being a Christian. A minister in London told me about a man who never would go inside a church, but he would hang around in the vestibule. And when the ushers went away, He would open the door just a crack so he could listen, but he would never venture further than the vestibule. Well, Dr. Peel continues, there are many who physically have got past the vestibule, but mentally, they're still listening through a crack. They're only getting a tiny bit, a faint suggestion of the gospel. But Jesus said, drink ye all of it in Matthew 26, verse 27. If you take the whole of Christianity, Dr. Peel continued, and really give yourself to it, and really accept it, you are going to become so happy, so enthusiastic, so optimistic, that life will be altogether different for you. Then you will walk in the newness of life, when you have absorbed the quality, the essence, the depth and the height, the glory and the power of Christianity. So let go of that gloom. Let go of that depression. Let go of that discouragement. Let go of that weakness. Let go of that sense of failure. Get yourself with Jesus. Really, personally. Go to him. Pray to him. Tell him you want to live with him. Tell him you want to be guided in your life by him. And I will guarantee, on the basis of everything I have seen happen in my ministry, that you will become optimistic. You'll become victorious. You'll have peace in your heart. You will love people. You will feel good physically and emotionally. You will have a wonderful life. You may agree with that or not, but I believe Dr. Peel was onto something that the world just doesn't get. Happiness isn't something that happens to you on the outside, but something that happens on the inside. In the first chapter of Corinthians, St. Paul says that the wisdom of God shows the world's wisdom to be foolishness. No clearer statement of this principle is found in scriptures than in Jesus' statements about happiness. They turn the world's value systems upside down. Happiness or blessedness is not found in wealth or power or pleasure or a full belly. Some of the happiest people on earth are some of the poorest people on earth. And some of the richest people on earth, in terms of material goods, are some of the most miserable people on earth. You may be familiar with the story of a king who was suffering from a certain malady. He was advised by his astrologist that he would be cured if the shirt of a contented man were brought for him to wear. Now, people went out to all parts of the kingdom after such a person. And after a long search, they found a man who was really happy, but he didn't possess a shirt. We can have the most desperate of circumstances and still be happy, according to Jesus. Happiness comes from another source. It is a curious spiritual principle that the more we have, the more we demand out of life. So often, it is the person who appears to be blessed with all the external trappings of the good life who is so easily miffed at God, or the person who has very little feels a much greater sense of gratitude for life's little joys and pleasures. This is not to say that in order to find happiness, we need to give away everything we possess. That might help, or it might be the worst thing we could possibly do. It might fill us with so much resentment, or even worse, with so much self-righteous pride, that we would be intolerable. It is easy to say. It is to say, however, that some of us have our values all out of whack. That is why we are so miserable. There are only two sources of happiness in this entire world. One is a right relationship with God. The other is a right relationship with our fellow human beings. Everything else is extraneous. Everything else is extraneous. Poverty or wealth, handicap or health, surrounded by loved ones or weeping beside a lonely grave, we can still have a wellspring of joy within if we understand the source of happiness. Happiness is not dependent on circumstances, but on an inner certainty that we are loved, accepted, that we belong to God. How sad it is to see so many people go through life without discovering this essential principle that happiness comes only from a right relationship with God and with others. J.T. Fisher states, if you were to take the sum total of all authoritative articles ever written by the most qualified of psychologists and psychiatrists on the subject of mental hygiene, you would have an awkward and incomplete summation of the Sermon on the Mount. For nearly 2,000 years, the Christian world has been holding in its hands the complete answer to its restless and fruitless yearnings. Here rests the blueprint for successful human life with optimism, mental health, and contentment. This is why so many people today are unhappy. It is why suicides are growing among both young people and older people alike. We've brought into the notion that happiness comes by being surrounded with pretty things. Economics professor Richard Layard of the London School of Economics and Political Science has spent a good part of his life studying what is sometimes called the science of happiness. He notes that there have always been people who believe that things are going downhill, that society is going to hell in a handbasket. But if you study society as a whole over the last 50 years, they are wrong. By every measurable standard, life is better than it has ever been before. In the United States, for example, living standards have more than doubled. Among some populations, there have been massive increases in real income. And yet, according to extensive studies by the Gallup organization, people are not one bit happier than 50 years ago. The adage that money cannot buy happiness has been affirmed time after time. According to scientific studies, once our basic needs are met, shelter, food, and basic education, income makes little difference in our levels of happiness except in extreme situations. Even celebrities are beginning to recognize that point. Late-night talk show host David Letterman was once quoted in the New York Times. Here's what he had to say. I'm a person who spends a great deal of his time wondering why he's not happier. I have found that the only thing that does bring you happiness is doing something good for somebody who is incapable of doing it for themselves. That's David Letterman. But it sounds a lot like Jesus. Psychologist and best-selling author Dr. Martin Seligman has himself spent decades studying the subject of happiness. In his experience, the recipe for happiness contains 3 ingredients: pleasure, that is the sensations of what we normally think of as happiness; engagement, that is how enthusiastically involved you are with your relationships, your work, your hobbies, etc.; and meaning, how you contribute to the greater good. He says that the pleasure component of happiness is the least significant and the least enduring of the 3. Those things that engage us and give us meaning are much more important in our search for happiness. That is the reason that people of faith are happier people. They generally have more stable relationships, and they have a greater sense of purpose for their lives. Author James W. Moore says that a friend of his once shared with him an experience that she had in an art museum in New York. She went into a special exhibit room where all the paintings were paintings of roads. There were paintings of busy, modern interstate highways, big city, crowded thoroughfares, attractive landscaped parkways, happy neighborhood streets, remote mountain trails, and quiet country roads. At one end of the big room was a very large painting of a road. It had a delicate, spiritual look with soft pastel colors, and the caption beneath it read, "The Road to Happiness." As his friend stood there and looked at this magnificent painting of the road to happiness, 2 fashionably dressed middle-aged women walked up beside her. One of them was visibly moved by the painting. "Isn't that beautiful?" she said. But the other responded sadly, "Of course it's beautiful. There's only one problem. There is no such road." But there is such a road to happiness. And it's found in the teachings of Jesus. In 1989, columnist Nick Clooney decided that he, like a modern-day Huck Finn, wanted someone else to do his work for a little while. So he invited a variety of local celebrities from the Kentucky, Ohio area to send in their ideas on a column about epitaphs. What would these famous men and women want to have written on their tombstones? He was surprised by the wit and sincerity of the various responses. Ira Joe Fisher, a weatherman, wrote a humorous couple of lines that went like this. He wanted the mind of Plato, the heart and soul of Socrates, but his life was more of a tribute to old mediocrities. Paul New, the editor of the Cincinnati Post, couldn't make up his mind about what to write until after he and his family went away for a weekend trip. When he returned, Paul knew that he wanted an epitaph that reflected the importance of his family in his life. He chose as his epitaph two simple words. He cared. But the most sweetly whimsical message was from Charlie Meacham, former head of Taft Broadcasting. His epitaph read like this: Dear God, thanks for letting me visit. I had a wonderful time. Is that what you would say? Is that what you would like to say when you come to the end of your life? Dear God, thanks for letting me visit. I had a wonderful time. You can, you know. Give your life to Christ and look for people you can serve. You will find a secret to the secret life very few people ever find. You will have found the road to happiness. You'll be able to say with Charlie Meacham, Dear God, thanks for letting me visit. I had a wonderful time. Amen. Be seated, please. Time for the announcements. Okay. Join your church and leave a legacy of helping others. Okay, guys, seriously, this is not that difficult. Simply go to pray.com or get the app, the pray.com app at the App Store, the Apple App Store or Google Play. Every day I post a small prayer here, sometimes scripture, sometimes just a word of encouragement, something very nice. It's a good way to start your day. It's a good way to end your day, whichever you choose. I enjoy it, and I think you would too. Just a little bit of inspiration every day. I mean, is anybody using it right now? You use it. Tim uses it every day? Very good. Because I'm on there every day too. I mean, I really do. Try and post. I mean, I've missed a couple. I think once in a blue moon, but I try not to. But I also post our YouTube videos there. If you have any major announcements, I'd probably post them there as well. But it's more for a prayer site. It's more for meditation. It's more for prayer and studying the Bible and things like that. The other thing that goes with this is they do offer a way to donate to the church, which is a tithing way. You could actually set up your tithing on your credit card, through your bank account, whatever, right here with them, and it comes directly to us. It's kind of a nice way. We don't have to deal with it. It's taken care of, and you don't have to worry about putting that dollar in the bucket every week. It's going to be there. It's already done. It's already sent to us. Okay. Pray.com. Just simply go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store.
Your brain about that with the pray.com. I'm starting a 21-day fast.
Yes.
And I have GoFundMe page.
Okay.
I set up. I linked it through the ULC because they have two options. You do solo or through nonprofit. So I figured logically do it to the church. And I haven't set up the bank and routing yet, but I haven't even started yet. But
so hold off on that. Let's talk about that some more, because anything that you do in the church's name has to go through the board of directors and myself, and I'm the president of the board. Okay, it has to go through all the board members. We have to agree on it for it to happen. That's why there's a board, to make sure that there's no corruption, nothing going on that shouldn't go on, nothing bad, and that that everything is on the up and up. That's all it is. Okay, it's just a way of doing it. It has to go through the board. Okay, it's not just me. Understand? Do not do anything in the name of the church like that until you get board approval. Okay, so we'll talk about that later after church if you want to. Okay, all right. Moving on. Compliments, concerns, suggestions, or complaints. Compliments being the one we need the most. Simply send us an email at feedback@dallasulc.com. Feedback@dallasulc.com. That's pretty self-explanatory, guys. Any of those things or anything you really want to give us feedback on, feedback@dallasulc.com. Pray@dallasulc.com is the other email address you might want to keep on your mind. Pray@dallasulc.com. We pray every day here at Dallas Universal Life Church. Send us through this email, pray@dallasulc.com, your prayer requests. We'll be glad to take care of them. You can remain anonymous. You can give us your name. Also, you may choose to just have us pray for you during our weekly prayers, or our daily prayers, or at our weekly Sunday service, where it will be put in the bulletin, and the entire congregation would pray for your prayer request. Also, you can choose to remain anonymous or give us your name, whichever you choose. Also here, we do offer a chance for you to dedicate a service, a mass, to a loved one. whether one who is still with us on this earth or one who has passed on in their memory. It's a great way to honor somebody in their memory. It's also a great way to honor somebody for still being here. I mean, graduation. Christmas just passed, but we got Easter coming up. We got weddings. You've got anniversaries. You've got birthdays. It's kind of cool to go to church and have your name in the bulletin and have everybody there saying the mass in your name. I think it's just really neat. It's a neat gift. It helps out the church. It's something to honor you. It's something that you'll have for a lifetime. And all we ask is that you give a small donation to the church to help cover the cost of the service that day. It's not that big of a deal. In that sense, it's a huge deal for the one who you're honoring. Okay? So that's simply pray@dallasulc.com. Did you know we had a podcast? Well, y'all are just real enthusiastic today. Let's try that one more time. Hey, did y'all know we had a podcast? Oh, gosh, I have to come up with some new stick here, I think. All right, guys, we do have a podcast. Now, I was really excited. We were just booming. But all the good things come to an end, I guess. I mean, it went from, we had, 3 weeks ago, we had over 90 listens 3 weeks ago. 90 listens for that one episode. We had, I believe, 13 last week. Or, not for last, for the week before last. 13 so far. And we've had, I believe, 2 for the last service we had. So I'm not sure what happened. But somebody shut the tap off. So, if any of you out there know why you stopped listening or why your friends stopped listening, or if you know, if something bothered you about our podcast or about our service, let us know. That feedback, or whatever way you want to get in touch with us. But the best way, feedback@RCLC.com. Let us know, because I'm unaware of anything that drastically changed. I think that we may have some technical difficulties, but I think everything was still there, and I'm a little concerned about it. I mean, it could just be it could be who knows what. It's just what it is. But to be such a drastic change, first of all, it was a drastic change up, and I wasn't complaining then, was I? But now I'm a little concerned. So we just want our message to get out there. And if we do something that offends somebody or something that's causing people to, kind of not listen, we want to know why. And we want to correct that problem. So let us know. But for those of you who are listening and those of you who want to pass it on, you can hear us on Anchor, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Castbox, Breaker, Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts, and TuneIn. Did I get all of them? I think I did. Or if you don't remember all that, just simply go to Google or go to MSN or go to whatever your Bing or whatever your search engine is. I don't want to leave any of them out. And search for Your Path with Bishop Mark. Your Path with Bishop Mark. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet, go do it, because it's a different experience. I say it week after week after week. Well, I think I put somebody to sleep back there. Michael, wake up, man. You're snoring. All right. I say it week after week after week, and do I put people to sleep in church? I may not put you to sleep on the podcast, so you might be able to stay awake through that part. It might be, just enough to keep you going. It's different. You catch different things, you see different things, you hear different things. It's just a different experience. I encourage you to go listen to our podcast. You search for Your Path with Bishop Mark. Now, I want you to click that again, please. Okay. Now, going along with Your Path with Bishop Mark, we do have to ask that, let you know that we are fully self-supported by donations. We are a nonprofit organization. I don't take a salary right now. The money's not there right now. Yeah, well, here we go. If you like our podcast, all you have to do to become a supporter, and we encourage you to become a supporter. You supporting us helps us keep that podcast going, helps us make it better, helps us improve on it. All you have to do is go to anchor.fm/Bishop Mark /support. It's very simple. Anchor.fm/Bishop Mark /support. Now, it says here, we rely on donations to survive. Please support this podcast with a small monthly donation to help sustain future episodes. We greatly appreciate support. God bless you. Now, here they give you 3 options. You can do 99 cents a month, and that's, hey, great. I mean, every little penny helps us. They suggested you do the $4.99 a month. Now, look, $4.99 a month. I mean, that's better than any other, I think that we're better than, a lot of the $4.99 subscriptions you can get out there. $4.99 a month, it helps us keep going here. Of course, if you're a true saint, I'm just kidding. $9.99 a month, and it says here, creator gets 13% more per dollar, which is nice. $9.99 a month. So $10 a month, you could be, our savior at this point. Also, they take Apple Pay and credit cards. So, it's right there for you. It's very easy to get to, and it really does. I mean, we rely on that. I hate fundraising. I hate doing the money part of this. But if we don't do it, we don't survive. So we're the creator, the church, the creator of the podcast. That's us. Okay. All right. Moving along. Well, we talked about it last week. Don't do anything yet. Okay. About the Dallas Pride thing, and we did not have the money, and I wanted to kind of bring it up in the service today, that we were unable to come up with the money. We talked about it last week, that maybe it just wasn't time for us yet to be in the parade. They're moving it to Fair Park this year, and I'm very adamant. I think it would be a great thing for us to get our name out there and to grow and do whatever, and maybe it just wasn't in the cards for us this year. I'm not sure. Someday you'll get it, Tim. But you should get ready to march. Hit it again. Listen, folks, we're going to be in the Gay Pride Parade this year. I borrowed and begged and stole and did what I had to do to come up with that not only $300, but $307.50 for a maintenance fee or something that they charge you just to pay the $300. I love that. So here's what I need you to do. Start thinking about. Y'all think this is a long way off. It's not. We're talking about, this is now what, February the 17th. We're talking about June 1st and June 2nd. The actual parade's on June the 2nd. So, how many months is that, Tim? February, March, April, May, and then we're there, right? And we're already at the end. Okay, so February, March, April, May, June. It's like 3 months. That's not long. Okay? I still have to come up with the money for the banners. I want us to all have signs. We'll have signs. And T-shirts. Huh?
Little China fans for the summer.
Yeah, okay. Certainly, I would want it to be. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll start talking about this. I've got some ideas coming up. I mean, obviously, here's the other thing about that day. I'm just going to throw this at you now. What I'm planning on doing, and this is all in preliminary. I mean, I just paid this last night, so I'm very happy. By the way, I think this is going to be huge for our church. I think it gets us out there, and it shows that we support our community, and we support the GLBT community, and that we hope that they support us. But the gates open at 8 a.m. for us, and that's on a Sunday. July the 2nd, or June the 2nd is on a Sunday. The parade starts at 2. Okay, so here's how it goes. 8 a.m., the gates open for us to start setting up, bring our floats in, bring our cars in, whatever we have to do, start lining up. By 12:30, by noon, all vehicles must be parked in their spots, in line, ready to go. By 1:30, at the latest, by 1:30, all marchers must be in their places. 1:30 in their places. That's it. So that's talking about from 8 a.m. to 1:30, and then the parade starts at 2. We're going to be way back in the line because it was first come, first serve. It was 150 places. There was 42 left when we got ours. So we're pretty far back there, which is fine. And then we have the parade, and then it's going to be probably dark by the time we get home. So that leaves us in a bit of a problem. What do we do about Sunday services? No, I don't think that would be appropriate. No, I don't think that would be appropriate at this time. This is not the place. I mean, I agree that would be a great idea. First of all, we have to have permission from them, and they're not going to want us to do that because then all the churches are going to do that, and they're all competing. Secondly, I understand. Secondly, I want this to be not only a time for us to expand and to really show people who we are, but I want it to be a time for us to come together as a family more. So, my proposal is something similar to what we do on the Alzheimer's Walk. When we do the Alzheimer's Walk, we have to be there at 8 a.m., something like that, 7 a.m. I think at 4 a.m. we got there one year. So, well, here's what we'll do. What? Well, that'd be nice. Yeah, that would be nice. Let's keep praying for that. So here's the deal. I want to do the same thing we do for Alzheimer's. That Saturday night, we'll have a sleepover. Okay? Everybody will come in. We'll lock down at 10 or 11 o'clock. Okay? Stay here on Saturday night. Early Sunday morning. I'm talking like 6:30 or 7 in the morning. We'll have a sunrise service. I think it'd be beautiful to start the day that day and praise God and have communion together and then go and march and be proud of who we are and proud of our brothers and sisters. and support those who we're proud of. For all of our, to cover everybody. We've got gay, straight, bisexual, we've got all of us. We're just all human. Just supporting each other, okay? Just all being proud, okay? Here's the thing I got to talk to you about, though. Lock that around in your heads, okay? I mean, just think about that coming up. I think that's a good idea. Let me know what y'all think. We can talk about it later, okay? Here's the deal. We've got to get people to join us, guys. We're a small church. We have a long place in the parade, okay? 5 of us ain't going to cut it, okay? You got to start talking to friends now. I'm serious. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family members. Talk to your brothers and sisters, your parents. Talk to your high school, people you haven't spoken to in ages, and they want to, people who will support us, support the community, and support what we're going for. We need to put some bodies out there. We will provide T-shirts, water. Come on out. We'll provide some cheers. We'll have a good time. I think it'll be an experience of a lifetime for a lot of people. Marching in the Gay Pride Parade is something it's special. It is. I mean, I've done it several times in several different cities, and I have great memories of all of them. So even in the pouring rain, and cold pouring rain of Dallas of one year, I mean, watching all the drag queens' makeup just fly off their face and everything. Trust me on this one, but I need your help. Guys, I do. I need your help. We've got to put some bodies on that roadway. It's going to be a fair park. This is a big place. We need to fill up our space, okay? So, we need to make a strong showing for our first year. This is our first year at Pride. No matter what, it'll be amazing. No matter what, if it's just one of us walking, it'll be amazing, okay? It's a huge marketing thing. It's a great way to market, and I think that, yeah, we are, and that's the whole idea. I wish we could afford, they've got right now, they still have the front and back cover of the program for sale. They want like, $2,500 for each of them. I mean, but you got to think about how many people those go to. I mean, that goes to hundreds of thousands of people that would read this. If I had that kind of money, I would jump on it. I'd throw it in there right away. I mean, that would be an investment I would make instantly, because I guarantee you we get our money back out of it. We'd have a place, we'd have a church by the end of the year. A building. Well, here's the deal, though. Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. We've got those are going to sell out quick. Okay, some big sponsors are going to try and grab those up. There's always ads. They've got half-page ads. It's the smallest page ad they've had. I think it was $450. Sure. We're still preliminary. I do say this. Don't sit on your hands on this. It's only 3 months away. We've got a lot to do, a lot to think about, a lot to decide on, okay? But we have a little bit of time to talk about it. I've got to start designing T-shirts, and I've got to design banners and things like that, but I've got to come up with the money for it first. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Starting next week, we will take up a second offering every Sunday. I encourage you to please donate to this offering as best you can, because this is going to be what determines how our funding is at the parade, what kind of T-shirts we can get, what kind of banners we can get, things like that. I'm going to do the best I can to make it happen and be as beautiful as it can be. But without some more funding, I can't just do it by my looks alone. I know that they are just stupendous and priceless, but they don't give me any money.